We got hards on. We're going to the end.
Or pledge allegiance to the PS. That sounded oddly sexual, actually. This is in celebration of Oscar Piastri, his second win, his maiden win in terms of a win which was actually good vibes because the other one was pretty sour. So in a weird way, it's like his maiden win. And I'm not even the biggest Oscar Piastri head out there, or whatever he calls his fans. Probably just his fans, judging by how Oscar Piastri is, he's pretty, down the middle of the line of the road. But I still like Oscar Piastri nonetheless, and great win today, great drive. And you know what? It was a great drive. Not starting on pole, going up against Charles Leclerc, a man who bested him on strategy last week round, and this week round he bested him in terms of just being that guy, pal. And I'm not saying Leclerc's on fraud watch, but what I am saying is we're going to get there soon. By the way, if you didn't catch the drift, this is meant to be my, I guess, Australian cosplay, even though this hat probably more looks like something your mum wears on holiday when she's getting a suntan, but, or a sunburn if she's more accurate. But, if I wear it any more down on my head like an actual Aussie, I feel like you can't see my face. And I ain't got the little tassels either, so I'm cosplaying as an Australian and I am doing it badly. But we're going to go through everything. We got Rate My Quali, we got the race rundown, we got the soft, medium, and hard awards, which you can probably guess where each award is going to. Well, at least the hard award. I think that one's pretty fair. Unless you're one of those, I guarantee there were still Lando fans who voted Lando driver of the day because they did it every weekend. And to be fair, Lando actually think did have a really good, solid drive. But I think it would be daylight robbery to not give it to. We'll get to that later. Let's not do any spoilers here. Rate My Quali. I was a bit harsh to it at first. I gave it a 5, but I actually think, if I'm being fair, when you let the quali cook, like it's a 5 when served chilled, But if you actually, you chuck it in the oven for like 10 minutes and just let it rise, let the bread rise, let the dough rise. It kind of cooks up to a 7 a little bit. I'm harsh on a quali that fizzles out, and for me, Q3 fizzles out. The whole reason you watch quali, it's edging you and whatever to get to the final explosion. That is what is hopefully a fun. It's you watching something for an hour, hoping for a great final 10 seconds. That's quality. Make whatever innuendo, link to example, metaphor you want from that and with your own personal life experiences. But all I'm saying is that is the description I would give quality. I still watch every single one, but that's how I would describe it, right? It all really comes down to the final 10 seconds. Yeah, a big person can go on Q1, sure. But it comes down to those final 10 seconds and it being exciting, and it just wasn't for me. It was people not really improving on their times, and just kind of how what you see is what you get, and I was just kind of meh on it. So it was a bit harsh. And I'm a Lando guy as well, but not without, outside of being a Lando guy, I do have to look at the quali and say, big name driver went out in Q1, and it's a driver who's trying to fight for a championship if we're still meant to be believing that narrative. Okay, so that's like a big shock. That is something that is exciting. And equally, if it was someone like Leclerc or like basically anyone else, I would have noted that down as something that was a point upwards for it. So I'm trying not to be harsh in that sense. Perez outqualified Max and was just overall better than him the whole weekend. That's something interesting. That's something to note. Albon got outqualified by I'm having my Lewis Hamilton moment here. Can't remember his name. Colapinto, who, by the way, this is a weird feeling. We're seeing a rookie come in and actually do a good job. I feel like that doesn't happen all the time. And yeah, okay, sure, that's not even true because Liam Lawson, Oliver Behrman's done a decent job. Russell and Norris and Thing were rookies not too long ago. Piastri, rookies come in and do great all the time. But I just mean, around Williams, I guess is more what I'm trying to say. Because, they've been stinking up the joint with Latifi. And you're used to people coming in and you never heard of this Colapinto guy if you're like a filthy casual, I guess, like most people, if we're being honest. That's what we really are. We're DTS people who came in through that at least. And, you've not really heard of him, and it's like I'm not saying I've heard of no one from I've heard of names like Dennis Hauger and stuff, Porsche, right, Deruvala. They're just names. I'm not saying any of these are good or deserve a seat. I don't really know how they're doing, but I've heard of them. Never heard of Colapinto. I keep looking down every single time to make sure I get his name right, but he's just good for some reason. And the funniest part is that we'll never see him again. He'll probably end up in Formula E. because I don't think there's going to be any seats available for him. He's probably going to do a great job. And yeah, Logan Sargent got given 2 years, and I feel like Latifi got 3. Mazepin, you know, I don't know how many he got, but that happened. There was the fun, just ridiculousness that Alex Albon got sent back out with a fucking air vent hanging, an air conditioning unit hanging out of his car. And as obvious as like those New York style air conditioning units are that literally hang out the side of windows waiting to kill people if they fall, right? That's how obvious it looked. And on top of how big it was and chunky, is it was bright yellow. And it was, you know, it was huge. Actually, the Coldplay song, It Was Our Yellow, is a good way you could describe this week, because a lot of things were defined by yellow. The big bright yellow box from Albon's head that he had to take out like a hero. What a moment, although he did it way too slowly for some reason. He just did it so slowly and he didn't get to the line in time, so it was kind of lame. And he gets out qualified by his teammate, crazy. The yellow flags, which knock out Norris, which was weird because I still don't know if we ever got an answer to that. There's this whole conspiracy, like, was there yellow flags, was there not? Well, there was apparently, because people got reprimanded for not slowing down during them. Norris did slow down during them. Maybe he didn't have to. Maybe he could have not slowed down and got through out of Q1 and only been reprimanded. Anyway, his team tell him to just abort the lap anyway, and he does. And then but they say sorry on the radio. So was there not no flag showed up on his little screen thing, on his little Wii remote driving steering wheel thing? So like, I don't know if there were flags. The flags got shown or not. What happened with what? Why is he apologising if it's not something they did on their part that was wrong? I don't know. Either way, he probably would have had enough pace to go through if he completes the lap. It's just Q1 to get through. I'm not saying he would have put it anywhere particularly impressive, but he would have got through at least. He would have qualified better than P17 or whatever he was. It got promoted to P15 because a lot of people jumped out. But the reason I'm saying it's like a slow cook, let it simmer, is because I just feel like after the race, like I follow Fastest Pit Stop, which is just a good... It's like the discussing film of the F1 world. It's just like it just gives you it, you know. Like when someone dies, I don't know how discussing film, but when someone dies like an actor or something, it's just boom, out immediately. It's just this person has sadly passed, age this age, like just straight to it. This film is in the works of these two actors, bang. Like I saw today, Tom Holland, Austin Butler, bang. You know, just news, bosh, simple, right? That's what Fastest Pit Stop is, so I appreciate it. It's just bosh. It's packaged up in a nice little bit of packaging. I like that. That's important to me. And it just shows me this driver's just been called to the stewards. This driver's just been called to the stewards for this reason. Gassi's getting disqualified. This driver's just been... And it was just interesting. I was just like... I actually preferred the scrolling on Twitter after the qualifying more than the qualifying itself. So I just thought, you know what? I'm going to say... It's got potential to be bumped up to a 7, basically. And that's the quality. That's everything I have here. A couple people signed for the pit lane. I think Zhou did maybe. Took an engine penalty. Hamilton, who had a really... Honestly, Hamilton, lucky actually not to get the soft award. Because although apparently the car wasn't great, and he says it all the time. And George managed to fall upwards into gaining a podium, but George was on the podium and Hamilton was kind of just in P15 behind Behrman the whole race. I don't know what was going on there, but that was happening. He's not my soft award for this week, so he gets away with one, because I think there's a more interesting person to give it to. But that's everything. If we get into the race rundown, I actually think it was quite a boring race. It wasn't too good. Thank God for the final lap that Baku refuses to not at least have a couple people crash at that track. Or for a little bit of something exciting to happen, because I thought it was actually kind of boring. Like, sometimes there's drives where you go, what a drive, what a tyre whisperer, what a legend, but watching it, it's fucking boring. Like, I don't care if what they're doing is actually an amazing feat. Sometimes it's just boring. Sometimes I see a clip and it's usually tennis, I can't lie. Even though I respect tennis as a difficult sport and it's cool and stuff where it can be, I never watch it right. And the part of that is that watching something when you don't know how hard it is, what doesn't define a sport. What makes a sport, I feel like, good to like just, or makes it, how do I word this the best? What I'm trying to say is, for a sport to appeal to a mass amount of people, is you should be able to see a clip out of context where everyone's going, oh my word, what a moment, how do they just pull that off? And even if you know the sport or don't know the sport, you should look at it and go, oh yeah, I'm impressed by that. Whereas a lot of times you'll see a great shot in tennis, I'll go, how did they just pull that off? This is supposed to be the best shot we've seen in the last decade, and you watch it and go, I mean, I don't understand tennis. I don't know how hard it is, but to me, obviously, it just looks like you just backhand it across the net down the line. And like, okay, yeah, it's a shot, I guess. But it's not comparing. It's like a bicycle kick or a scorpion kick or like John Durant's goal at the weekend. Comparing someone making tires last for 30 laps compared to a bunch of overtakes. What I'm saying to just like a viewer watching it, one is obviously more exciting. Is my whole point. So although Piastri was doing a great job, how interesting is it to watch Piastri lead the whole lap by like 7 tenths? They get to the DRS zone. Leclerc pulls right up his rear, tries to get him on turn 2, and then doesn't have enough pace in the second DRS zone, and then the whole thing happens again like that. I don't care if like he's technically doing an amazing job. I'm bored, type thing. I'm just going to be honest about that. And here's something that's actually a little bit controversial that I want to speak about. And people aren't going to like this because this is Prince Charming in name and, well, not in nature, because Prince Charming and Shrek's kind of he's kind of not that guy, pal. But, I want to talk about Charles Leclerc. Not that Charles Leclerc is overrated, having a bad season. I think he's crap. No. But does he deserve to be on Fraud Watch? How many poles are we not converting now? I don't actually have the stats for the answer to that question. But what I do want to say is we've been making a lot of jokes about Lando Norris. That's right. Underneath this shit you can't see, but I've got my #1 Lando Norris fan on. Just trust me on that, okay? Please don't check. But I do. And I'm going to come out swinging right now. Because, we like to make fun, don't we? Oh, we like to bet, don't we? Norris is on pole. Chuck some money on that he won't be leading lap 2. Easy cash. Well, I guess we could easily chuck some money on Charles Leclerc not converting from pole, because that seems to happen quite a lot as well, doesn't it? And what is that? What do you want to say? Oh, you want to say, well, for most of those poles, it was against Max Verstappen in a clearly faster car. But that doesn't stop you from saying that Oscar Piastri has gotten 2 wins in this McLaren, whereas in 18 months, whereas it took Lando 5 years to get 2 wins. Well, clearly those were different cars in different circumstances when Lando was in it for the most part. And so if we want to do that, we can do that. If you want to tango, let's dance. I can waltz, I can samba. Right, so all I'm saying is, look, I love Charles Leclerc, and in no way am I saying Lando Norris is better than Charles Leclerc. I don't think I have one leg, either legs, peg legs, any legs I can stand on right now, just with how a couple fumbles, you could say, have happened recently. I wouldn't say that even if Lando was having a great time, that he's better than Charles. I bow down to Charles. He's still my prince. Okay, even not as a committed disciple of his, I'll still pray to the flag, kiss the badge. Right. But what I am saying is everyone's got the part of their game. You got that part of your game where it's not quite there. Some people's are bigger than others. Yuki Tsunoda seems to be that he's rude, apparently, because that's the one thing that holds everyone back from giving Yuki Tsunoda credit half the time. Which, to be fair, the crash that happened to Stroll, I don't know whose fault it was exactly, but they didn't show any radio from Tsunoda, so I assume he took it reasonably well. But everyone still has it in their mind that he's just an insane hothead or whatever. But either way, everyone's got that part of the game where they're a little bit off. Lando's starts haven't been great. Charles Leclerc's not been converting from pole. Let's talk about it. Why is that? Let's at least have the discussion. No, don't just shut me down and walk away or get defensive and try and insult another driver. Just have that discussion with me, because it's interesting. I think it's there to be had. It's not just that the McLaren was the way quicker car. That's just not the case. I just don't think so. I mean, different tyres, but on the first stint, we saw Leclerc was able to pull away. Yeah, maybe Oscar used his tyres up too quick, but Leclerc was right there throughout majority of the race until the last few laps. You can't use that as an excuse. And I just think, look, this isn't me saying, hey, is Leclerc washed? Is Leclerc secretly crap? But what I am saying is that, hey, let's talk about something, because we want to talk about Lando a lot, even though he's second in the constructors and he's been beating his teammate. His teammate's having a good moment right now, but overall he's still like 30 points ahead of his teammate, still out qualifying his teammate, but we're acting like he's the worst thing in the world simply because his starts have been bad, and I equally, I'm also hard on Lando, but I just think, hey, if you want to give it, you've got to be able to take it, type thing. So there's that. Don't kill me. Actually, I don't really give a fuck. What else happens? George kind of falls into that podium. That's like the second time this has happened now. I think the first time was when he got the win. Was it Austria that happened? And this time round, he's kind of just like the, hey, call George Russell the janitor, because he cleans. Well, he doesn't clean up. He's less of a janitor, more of a opportunistic uh, bank rob. No, not banks are too. No, like service gas station robber. He's like, oh, the guy behind the counter just is having a heart attack. Grab all the confectionaries you can. Grab the Mars bars and the milk duds. I'm trying to think of universal, like worldwide brands. I don't want to isolate anyone by saying only English chocolates or whatever. I don't know if Mars bars is an English chocolate or whatever. But what I'm trying to say is, he sees the mess and he's like, oh, I'll take what I can here and just skedaddle. Skedaddle is the perfect word to use for George Russell. That just fits his whole aura perfectly. But he walks away with a decent old podium there, which, considering out-qualified again, Hamilton with relative ease, and Hamilton was just like playing behind, okay, let's not say playing behind Oliver Behrman, especially considering the age difference. It just sounds odd, but just like back there behind Behrman for like the whole race pretty much, until we finally overtook him in about P15. I think, George had a pretty good weekend, all things considered, after some pretty torrid times in recent. So I'll give him some credit there. Piastri had a great drive. I haven't actually given Piastri any real credit this weekend yet, but I feel like everyone else is going to do that. People who understand racing more and you can break down what happened more. And real Piastri fans, because I like Piastri, but I'm not a Piastri guy. I'm a Norris guy. I'm a Hamilton guy. I'm a Ricciardo guy. And then I like Piastri. I like George and Albon and Leclerc. And then there's some fodder in there, some bottom of the barrel people. And then there's, Ocon, Perez. I'm not going to say I pray for their downfall, but I don't pray for their upfall. I'll say that. But what I am going to say is that Piastri is someone I want to wax lyrical about a little bit, because he is doing a great job. We get it. But here's the thing though, I get it though. He has this thing. I'm not saying he's like doing a bit or whatever, like, he's just who he is. But like, yeah, he is simple, cool, calm and collected. You can crash him into a wall, you can drive him into P1, you can take him out in P20, you can tell him he'll never drive again, and his reaction will be like, oh yeah, cheers mate, fair income. And I get that, that's cool, and I like that about him. And he's doing a good job, and he is a future world champion, of course. Is that my particular style? No, because the reason I love Daniel Ricciardo is the fact that, he's god-awful at his time at McLaren, let's just be honest about that. But then when he wins in Monza, he's on top of the car. They thought I left, I never left. He turns it into a movie, and that gets the hairs on my arms raising up. So I will say that. But he does a good job. But like similarly to Leclerc winning last time, he did an amazing race, but it's not a performance that excites me. Like sometimes people would be gushing over certain Max performances last year where he was just like, simply lovely. I'm 4 minutes ahead. I'm amazing. Wow, he's just a flawless drive, not a fingertip wrong, not a degree wrong with the steering or whatever. It just doesn't do it for me. Doing a one-stop strategy, making the tyres last, doesn't do it for me. Like, great defensive job here after a great lunge. I'll give him that for the move. But ultimately, it doesn't do it for me. It's really, really impressive. People who have watched the sport longer will give it more credit. And here's the thing, I give it all the credit in the world. It's just not going to do it for me type thing. It's not going to get my gears going. But yeah, he does a great job. It's a great drive, and it's his second win. And here's a better argument. The argument isn't what is a bad argument that you're posting for bait, which I'm nibbling. I've took right, but it isn't. Lando Norris has got 2 wins in 5 years in the McLaren. Piastri has got 2 wins in 18 months. That's like, yeah, that's bait. But if we look at that as an argument, obviously it's stupid. The cars, the competition, where they were, it's all different. Just say this, because this is actually true and fair, and actually a way better argument to back up Piastri, which is that Norris has 2 wins. Let me rephrase that so it sounds cooler. Which is Piastri has 2 wins in 18 months, and not that Norris has 2 wins in 5 years, but that Norris has 2 wins also in 18 months. That's a lot better, because they've been in the same machinery for that time, against each other in the same circumstances, with the same field around them, and where they are relative to that field. And the fact that Norris has had more experience with that team, that dynamic, and that car, yes, prior generations, and in the sport in general, than Piastri, and the fact they've got 2 wins, that is just the better argument. You don't need to do the 5 years thing for the bait or whatever. Like, just saying it actually how it is actually puts Piastri in a better light, that they've both managed the same amount of wins in 18 months. And I give Piastri full credit for that. I'm a Lando guy, and it hurts me, in a sense, because I want to see Lando dominate. a little bit more than I have been seeing. But I actually think Lando had a really underrated race this weekend. Like, this is how much of a fumble some of his races has been, where I'm honestly saying that I think this race is one of his best performances this season. And he's P4, which probably says a lot. Just from the fact that he started P15, he had a dog performance. Because here's the thing about Lando. He's a bit of a bitch sometimes, and he will moan. There, I said it. Or not, no, sorry. What I'm trying to say is Lando can come across a little bit. He just, it just don't work for me. Okay, in interviews. What I like about Lando is he puts that to the side. Like, he will behave like that. I can't talk to Max again. We can't be friends. Someone who would say that, I think I have to reevaluate. But then he's the kind of person, you give him an hour and he's over it. And then the next day he puts in a race where he's not fazed by that. And he went out and I think he drove really well. He had overtaken 2 on the start, gets another one immediately. He's going forward. He's immediately into the points pretty early on. What I loved about his race as well is sticking it to Max a bit. Like knowing, hey, I'm not going to get the best weekend, and maybe I'll only get a couple points in him, but let's still make sure we get past Max here. And even though I haven't pitted, driving like how Max would drive if he was in that situation, getting the elbows out a bit, making sure Max stays behind in there. And yeah, it's a street circuit, it's a track where it's easier to do that, but still doing it. Still getting Max to actually have to, sort of sit up in his chair a bit. I like that. That's still gain something from this. A good performance there. Boxes, gets the fastest lap. Max then boxes for it, but there's under safety cars. A bit of luck goes his way. You make your own luck. At the same time, he does that for himself. And, the 2 cars crash out in front of him. He gets to go from P6 to P4, from P15. Do the mathematics, because I can't, but that's positions, baby. That's like 11 places, right? That's right. 5 to 10, that's 5, and then another 4, 6. That's 11. 5 and 6 is 11. So I just thought really good drive, all things considered. And on top of that, you did a little team thing. You still look like a good guy. You slowed Perez down for a lap. He didn't really slow you down because he was behind Albon for so many laps anyway. And you kind of can sleep at night being like, yeah. I helped. I got Piastri that win. I basically did the work for him. You can kind of like have that like in the back of your mind, even though outwardly you say it was mainly Piastri's job, which it was, but you can kind of feel that way. It's like Mishi Batshuayi, not the world's best striker in the world, I'll just say that, if you know who Batshuayi is, right? But he played for Chelsea, scores our Premier League winning goal against West Brom. That's the goal that won us the league in that game, because it was the game, if we win this game, we win the league. Batshuayi scores it, he scores the goal that won us the league. Wow. And it's like you get all of that when you could put like no effort into the homework. Like everyone did all the work and then you kind of just poured the baking soda at the end and the volcano went off and it's like, oh, sick. That's the kind of thing I'm trying to get at here. That's the analogy I'm trying to go for, a little bit more universal. A lot more people probably get that one. Hey guys, welcome to my stand-up set. You could say Formula 1 drivers give another meaning to the word crash out. Because Perez and Sainz really crashed out at the end of that race, didn't they? Had their crash out moment. Being a boomer this young, saying boomer actually, I think even is boomerish in itself. But being, there is a such thing as trying too hard, I know. But no, basically Perez and Sainz crash out. I don't think they did in the interviews. And there is like Urban Dictionary Nazis who will tell you that everyone's using that word incorrectly. But whatever, basically, Sainz and Perez did something that was written in the script for this race long before it even started, which is there will be a crash eventually, and it happens on like the second to last lap. And it was always going to happen. And just luckily for everyone, we got to see a crash, and it was between what is essentially fodder. Like everyone saw that big crash, and it was like, who is it? Oh, Carlos Sainz and Perez. And it's like, people like Perez, people like Sainz. I like Sainz and that. I like Perez. I don't have anything against any of these people, but like, it's like, oh yeah. It's like, oh yeah, if you had to pick any of the 2 cars up there, where no one's really a big fan, like, and Perez has huge Mexican fan base, and I know, but I'm talking about just Twitter sense, right? It's just like, oh, it was, yeah, pick 2 cars to sort of just take the hit for more exciting into the, yeah, Sainz, Perez, yeah, check it. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, sure, take these ones. They crash out. And here's the thing. When it comes down to technical stuff, whose fault was it? Who took the apex first? Who was ahead at the corner? Whose front wheel axis was behind their rectum? degree ratio side pod chassis, right? I don't know. I just go by what other people say, you know. But like, what I will say, I don't know who was in the wrong, but just by listening immediately to the two radios, yeah, I'm gonna say it was Carlos Sainz. Okay, because when Perez's radio comes on, what the hell? What the freak, man? What is he? Why? What? Okay, and then it cuts to Carlos Sainz radio, which was the most like, you know, feet pointing inwards, knees touching, just kind of like, oh, what happened there, man? Oh, what the frick? Oh no, man, we crashed. Oh, oh, Jenkins. What the hell, man? I really wanted to finish. Oh no. Oh, that's not my fault. That's no. He doesn't know. He's not. Is he angry at me? Hmm. You know what I mean? It was just the most like guilty kind of radio I've ever heard in my life. Especially when it's Carlos Sainz, who's like a guy by the book, like he knows all the rules, and he'll immediately get on and be like, "Yeah, Perez did this. Get on the steward's blower and tell him tell him there's been a murder. Right? Someone needs to get booked. Right? Someone needs to get nicked right now. That's who Sainz is." And the fact that he went on the radio and was like, "Oh, what what the hell?" You know, I'm just like, so it was Sainz's fault then. But I don't know. Apparently, Perez got out of the car and was like pushing Sainz or something, and people thought that was bang avoid, considering what just happened, alluding to the fact that it was Perez's fault. I don't know. I mean, from watching, I'd say I probably would have thought it was Sainz's fault, and definitely by the radios, I would have thought it was Sainz's fault. People could say maybe Perez's reaction is overcompensating. If you look at the Bottas Russell crash, that time in the wet when Russell was in the Williams, you could argue that maybe his reaction was a bit of him maybe overcompensating when you think, oh, maybe I did something wrong there. But like, I'm gonna give it to you, Sainz. On to whatever race is next. I actually didn't check. Usually I say on to the next race, but I don't actually have it written down. I know what, I'll check for you because I ain't a bad guy. F1 calendar. Oh, no, I spelled calendar wrong. That's embarrassing. It's not that hard of a word to spell. Singapore, 22nd of September. That is next month, right? Yep, 7. Maths again, struggling with it. Singapore, that's the one where everyone sweats and almost dies, right? I can't wait. Soft, medium, hard wars. I thought I was against something. Soft we're actually going to give to Verstappen, which is wow, oh my god, crazy. You don't get to say those words often. But just, you know, really dominated by Perez this whole week. And Perez is really good at Baku, I feel like. And he's got some confidence back. Maybe in this race, maybe last race beforehand. I can't remember where he finished, what happened in that race, or what even was where it was. But yeah, just quality outdone. I think in the practice maybe outdone. Don't remember. Don't quote me on it. And in the race, yeah, I mean Perez was in the mixer and Verstappen was not. Did not have a great race, and there was I think it was at Spa where I looked at it and went, "Come on, Norris, you're on pole or like P2, and Verstappen's starting like P9. You have to make points here." And they finished like next to each other or something, and I just thought, what a waste. This was like, okay, this weekend's a wash. You know, Verstappen's like P7, you're like P15 or something. But he had a bit of a flip reversal and actually still managed to get a couple points. So I just thought, don't know what happened to Verstappen there. He's probably still complaining about brakes on no bite, whatever he was saying. Medium, Leclerc. I'm giving it to Leclerc, yeah. I mean, shout out to two people who actually have missed out on the awards here. I'd say Hamilton maybe for the softs. Not a shout out you want, but hey. And then Norris somewhere in here as well could have been mentioned because I thought he had a really underrated race. But Leclerc, just because I think we need to, like, when people are overtaken by Piastri, I've kind of heard this excuse a few times now on commentary and sometimes on Twitter, which is, oh man, you know what? Ted? I actually don't think they was expecting that. Actually, that needs to stop being an excuse. Like, you need to stop not expecting Piastri to send it on you. Because if there's one thing about Piastri, he'll send it. And there's one thing about Piastri, you've seen it a lot of times, he'll send it and he'll lock up. We see that a lot of times too. But he'll send it. Just because he's like maybe a little meek, like pale, oh, Oscar Piastri. The palest, maybe Australian, I don't know. I just thought about that for the first time. But anyway, he's just a little bit more like, I don't really care. Oh, fucking hell, I don't care about your championship land. I'm in it for myself, right? Like, that doesn't mean you haven't got cojones, right? Just because you're like, um, I don't want to say boring, 'cause that's like an insult. Just because you're like, straight. What's the word? Just because you're, yeah, just because you're Oscar Piastri doesn't mean you've got cojones. And it's like when he overtook Norris, it was kind of like I don't think Norris was really expecting that one there, that move. Whoa, Piastri just did that out of nowhere. Piastri just overtook, and then like here it was like he sent it from so far back, and both moves it was like it looked like the driver ahead wasn't really trying to defend that much, and like they didn't see it coming, and then all of a sudden he's past them because he just sent it from like 2 years back that way, and it's like okay from now on, guys. If Oscar Piastri is behind you, I don't care where he is on the road, expect he might go for a move here. And that he might have it in his locker, like give him a little bit more credit than people are giving him. Stop not expecting these moves. Stop expecting that you're just, it's just crazy. I can't believe I went on for about 30 minutes for a race I thought I was going to talk about for like 15. Because I actually thought the race was pretty boring, like I said, but somehow I've managed to just waffle. So apologies for that. So, yeah. And then Hardwood Piastri, because obviously I'm looking like this because of Piastri. So yeah, well done, mate. Good job. Don't get too much closer to Norris though, because you're actually gonna really start to ruin my mental. Actually, because I can't at the moment with Twitter as it is with the fraud slander from my boy Lando. So just keep being good, but don't be too good. Yeah. Singapore next. On Singapore, we got Hot Someone going to the end. Thank you very much, and goodbye.